Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and for today's video I'm going to be doing something basically different than I've ever done before on this channel, and that is review two EPs that are very sonically different from each other, and by two completely different artists. Really the only thing these EPs have in common at all is that they were released on the same label, of course, Monstercat, and they were released within a week of each other. And those EPs, of course, are the Spectrum EP by Muzzy and the Illuminate EP by Duumu. And these EPs have kind of worked together to cause me to fall behind on my reviews, and regardless of that, I probably would have tackled these two EPs separately, but sadly I am in the midst of finals week right now, and I am trying to study like crazy and get just finished with the school year, so summer will be great and I can have lots more content out to you guys, but I really didn't want to push back these EPs any more than I already have, and there's a lot of new music coming out, so I'm just making sure I have time to get to all of those. And really both of these EPs kind of came out of the dark. There wasn't really much forewarning when it came to the release of these. And more or less we knew the Muzzy EP was happening, we just didn't quite know when it was coming out, at least until the pre-order was announced. Even more so though, Duumu, an artist that I think a very, very small percentage of Monstercat fans expected to see on the roster if they had even heard of Duumu before. If you want to get really technical, I've covered Duumu twice on my channel already because he has been featured on two different projects that I've reviewed, both works by Lone Moon. One of those being his remix of I Promise, which was featured on the Where Is Luna album, an album that I gave my highest regards. I actually featured it in my honorable mentions for best albums of 2016. And then Duumu also collaborated on the song Wake Up from Lone Moon's Crescents album, a song that I regarded both for its lyrics and its production as one of my easy favorites off of the album. But probably the way that most Monstercat fans found out about Duumu prior to this EP's announcement was through Nervo's Anywhere You Go remix competition, where Duumu was actually picked by Monstercat as one of the honorable mentions. Personally loved that remix. It was probably my favorite of the bunch of submissions that I actually heard. Sadly enough, Duumu obviously didn't win that competition, but he clearly got something a lot better, getting an EP signed with Monstercat. I was very proud to see that this EP was released in a very humble kind of way, with Duumu announcing this on his personal Facebook and word kind of spreading around from there. There wasn't some big pre-order scheme or fancy EP announcement. For most Monstercat listeners, this EP kind of just dropped one day, and I think in general a lot of people were really strangely happy with the result. Now first of all, I'd like to start off by saying that I do very much so like this EP, but I do think it is a very, very strange release for Monstercat to be doing. Even Monstercat's regular chill-out producers like Mr. Fiji Ouija and Direct usually have at least one track on their EPs that kind of bring it up from just being kind of an ambient chill-out EP and bring it up into more of an EDM sound. This EP doesn't really have that same kind of appeal. Everything's very raw, very organic, and like I said, I'm very much enjoying this EP when it just comes to listening to it as a standalone work, but when it comes to listening to it in the context of Monstercat as a whole and their uploads on their YouTube channel, their upcoming compilation, I think this one is going to stick out like a sore thumb. Now that might be a great thing. I mean, Monstercat has been in a huge transitional period throughout the last year where they're bringing in all these new artists and really kind of changing up the kind of styles they're accepting as a label. I feel like Illuminate though is just so far ahead of anything that Monstercat's really putting out right now. In fact, I can't really see them releasing any music that's this open and airy for at least a couple more years, especially because the EP's title track, Illuminate, was the featured upload from this EP. Over For Her and Recovery, which although not super hard-hitting, were still much more EDM sounding than the one that they actually ended up picking. Beside that, I think in general it's very exciting to see Duumu on the label. I think this is both representative of Monstercat moving on and representative of Duumu kind of growing as an artist. I hope to see him as a regular, maybe as a chill-out regular, but I would like to see his other kind of stuff kind of pushing their way into Monstercat as well, because I think that would probably be a little more fitting, and I really hope Duumu isn't just a one-and-done project type of deal like Nigel Good. I would very much like to see that guy back on the label after his Space Cadet EP was fairly solid. When it comes to Illuminate as a standalone though, I am probably feeling a strong 7 for this one, and I guess that'll bring me into the next EP. Of course, Muzzy's Spectrum. Muzzy has been known in the past to kind of have a bipolar feel to his music, where on one side you get these really hard-hitting drum and bass bangers, and then on another side you get these really kind of long, usually softer epics where Muzzy is kind of trying to tell a story with his music. We kind of saw those two things clash together in a really great way on Muzzy's F Minor Factory EP, where the whole thing was very, very conceptual. Muzzy seemed to be kind of trying to tell a story the whole way through, especially in just the first two tracks on the EP, but then most of it was fairly hard-hitting as well. With this EP, on the other hand, I don't feel like Muzzy is doing that super well. In fact, I think the only thing that really ties any of these tracks together is kind of the more rock-centered vocals that are featured on the first and second tracks. And that's not to say that the songs in this EP are inherently bad. In fact, I'd probably say that I prefer the title track over a number of Muzzy songs that he's released in the last couple years, with it featuring that beautiful 3-minute long cinematic intro, with its drop that features a 4 on the floor beat, something that is very different and out there for drum and bass music. And I wish with all my heart that Muzzy would have used these beat changes as more of an advantage on the rest of this EP. Instead, we only see that change up on the first track, and then he kind of goes back to the more generic patterns on the rest of the EP. And like I said, it's not like the tracks on this EP are really bad at all or poorly produced. In fact, I think Muzzy is a pretty great drum and bass producer, but I just think this EP could have been more than it is. I want to see Muzzy go and expand and do something really different, and I see hope for that in the first couple tracks on this EP, but other than that, I really don't see him kind of pushing out of the boundaries any more than he has in the past. And I hope with Muzzy's next project, whenever that may be, will feature a lot more experimentation, a lot more of Muzzy kind of looking at things in a different way like he did with the title track on this one, hopefully featuring some more collaborators that'll kind of complement him well but be very outside his vein. I see that he's working with Protostar in the studio right now, so hopefully whatever that collaboration comes out, hopefully that'll be something really different for both of them. I hope we don't kind of get exactly what I'd come to expect with both of their music, because I can definitely see that happening. And that's about it when it comes to this EP. For Spectrum, I am feeling probably a light 5 out of 10. As always, I have the Spotify link for not only this EP, but for Duumu's as well, down in the description below. And if you guys have listened to these and you've enjoyed them, probably let me know what your favorite one of the two was down in the comment section below. I'm kind of curious to hear people's thoughts on comparison, because I wasn't really planning on doing an EP review quite in this fashion. But personally, I did prefer Duumu's, and I hope you guys kind of look at it in your own unique way as well. As always, I'm Landon Remixes. I hope you guys enjoyed these reviews, I suppose, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.